we just talked about how I think I can get a point off Carlos Alcaraz. So who better to ask if I can do that than a former ball boy at the United States Open?
Yeah.
The great Michael Richards is here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I love your confidence. I mean, we all need confidence, and boy, you got it. 1 point, you go around with that every day now, right? Every day. I know I could make 1 point. I know I can make 2 3-pointers in a row playing basketball against the best.
Exactly. That would be, yes. Could you imagine the confidence I would have walking around if the guy who just won the French Open, we're already with a Wimbledon, a U.S. Open on his resume, that if I had 1 point off of him, look out for me.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's something to strive for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like he would, if just to continue the references, he would treat me like you would treat a 12-year-old judo kid, from back in the day.
I don't know. It's way above my pay grade.
You didn't actually take on kids in jiu-jitsu, right? And
No,
when you were
I
on
took
the
on
set,
kids, though. I am the best dad ever. I love that right there.
Do you
on
like
the
this
desk.
right here?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to come,
cool.
if you're going to come for the crown, you best not miss. Is all I'm saying. I don't usually get aggressive with my guests, Michael. But
do so. Let's just get to it. Come on, don't patty cake around me.
Oh man, here's the book. It's called Entrances and Exits. The forward by Jerry Seinfeld. It is available where all books are sold. It is chock full of stories from out your entire life and your career. And it's, as I mentioned, where all books can be acquired. Michael Richards here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our radio audience is just about to rejoin us, and then we get the whole big schmear right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Back on our Rich Eisen Show radio network. Michael Richards is here. Entrances and Exits where all books can be acquired. And it's great to see you here, sir.
Oh, thanks,
Truly.
Rich. Thank you.
Yeah, we just had Jerry Seinfeld in that very chair a few weeks ago.
And Larry David.
That's right. Larry's been here before. Yeah. You met Larry before Jerry, or no?
Yeah.
Chronologically in your
I
life.
worked with Larry on a sketch comedy show called Fridays.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's also a moment in this book that you recount quite a bit from Fridays with Andy Kaufman.
Indeed, when Andy and I came up with that, the breakout sketch, no one will know, live on television. Yeah, that was an event for sure.
So just jumping into that right here. So you came up with Andy Kaufman coming up with a skit where he refuses to say his lines. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He's going to not say his lines. I knew he was going to go out. I didn't know where, but he was going to break out of the sketch. Yeah.
So you went into this knowing he was going to have a sketch, and you just didn't know when he was going to stop doing it.
I just didn't know when he was going to do it. And at the beginning of that sketch, he's not saying all of his lines. So I don't know, is he going out now? I wasn't sure. I had to watch him very closely.
Right.
It sort of pulled me out of the scene. If you watch it, I'm not I'm not really quite in that scene. I'm watching Andy very carefully.
Right.
I was young. If we did it all over again, I would have played it cooler, I think.
So
a little more at ease.
And at one point, did you ad-lib the rest of it yourself?
Oh, yeah. Then it went crazy.
So what happened after he stopped doing his lines?
It was really great because after, and we cut out and went to commercial, Andy was backstage crying. He had tears. He's really playing this all out. He's such a trickster. But I was so impressed that he could bring tears and apologize to everybody, saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I broke out of the sketch. And it was, and everyone's, the crew and everyone is so angry at him. And Andy is just playing it so beautifully. Tears and all. What an actor. What a fine actor.
So you're saying you come up with this bit or skit where he plays a guy who's playing himself, who purposefully refuses to read his lines, then you would bust out the cue cards and bring it to him?
Yeah, I threw the cue cards in front of him. Now, the rest of the cast didn't know this was happening, of course. They're in the sketch trying to do this live in front of the country, And I knew Andy was going to break out of the sketch, and then we were going to have to take it from there.
And you didn't know that like a damn near brawl was going to break out on the set?
Yeah, the brawl was interesting. How protective that crew was. Is your crew that protective? Let's say I did something right now where they just jump on me and beat me up on the carpet. That's devotion.
Probably that guy, maybe?
Yeah,
I think he's
I would ask Jay to be the first one in.
Right.
The rest of you guys could just stay put.
Yeah, I mean, I got work to do.
But I just find it
got a bad
fascinating
back.
that
Isn't it?
that he kept the persona, the bit going.
Well, he came
afterwards,
back on the show a few weeks later. Now he had converted himself to Christianity and wanted to sing Christian songs to redeem himself for what he had done. I thought that was rather clever, too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's commitment to this whole comedic persona that is indeed Andy Kaufman.
Well, it's interesting that you would say that because I always thought watching you as Kramer that you were committed deeply.
Oh, possessed.
Every single honestly, like I thought that you being Kramer and the way that you controlled your body and the way that you delivered your lines and the way that you went about your business, you became that guy.
Indeed. That's how far I go, yeah.
Did you ever meet the real Cosmo
Yeah,
Kramer?
I met Kenny. We hung out a few times. Nothing like the kind of Kramer I created, but I had to push it for comedic reasons, yeah.
So that was not the real guy, is what you're saying, at all?
Oh, no, no. When I started out and they were casting, Larry was still close to Kenny Kramer as he visualized the Kramer character.
Yes.
And he suggested I wear a ponytail because Kenny wore a ponytail.
Yes.
But I broke that off quickly as I started to get into Cosmo Kramer.
Right. Okay. So that was your first order of business was not to go with the ponytail?
I didn't want to have to. Well, I couldn't grow it out in time, and I didn't want to wear a fake one, although I consider, a fake one, it could fall off at times,
Yes.
maybe, and we see that it's fake, and he's very concerned about this fake ponytail, But it falls off, and he has to stick it in his pocket, and that's an interesting cover. That could lead to comedy. But I ditched that idea and just decided to go into something more personal.
Yes, which is just
I
growing
pulled the
up.
hair out. I pulled the hair, put some gunk in there, and let that fly.
Okay. When did you know that you got the role? I mean, because Larry reached out to you, I imagine, through your relationship with Fridays, right? Like,
Well,
so when
he
did
knew
you
that
know?
I could make a character, yeah.
Right,
Make characters, eccentric characters. They wanted an eccentric next-door neighbor.
right.
So I had to deliver. And Larry knew I was, yeah. I had to audition for this part 3 times.
You did.
Yeah, they really put me through the hoops.
So when did you know you got it?
I knew it. I mean, probably the second audition. I felt the chemistry with Jerry, and I was making the room laugh. So I knew I was close. When I knew I had the characters, when I used to enter and get an applause from the audience. That's when I knew, okay, I got the character. Now we can continue, but not fret too much about whether or not I'm getting too cartoonish or too caricatured, so forth, because everybody was playing so beautifully close to themselves.
Yes.
And I had to manufacture a voice, and I had mannerisms and tics and movements, the way I would swing through the door. There's a lot of little things about this character that had to be invented.
Yeah, and then just the way that you would play him, Michael Richards. I got to be honest with you. I'll tell you what my favorite speech of yours is that I see all the time that is brilliant was you telling Jerry how if he gets married that he will lose all sense of himself and that you sit down and you can't watch TV while you're eating, that's out. You
Yeah,
have
that-
to talk about your day. That speech is absolutely brilliant. I can't get enough of that,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That really shows how individuated Kramer was. He didn't have a relationship going at all, really.
Right.
Marriage.
But you have to talk about your day and how was your day today. And so when you read that script, how do you come up with
Well, I was single
whole-
at the time. You know, so I could kind of relate to that. I just come out of a marriage too.
Right.
And I was brokenhearted from all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could kind of do have some personal connection to that. But ultimately, I'm all for marriage. So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But it does speak quite a bit in just the way that you actually use your voice and describe it. It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Rich. Thank you.
So what is your favorite Kramer moment, if you have one?
When I'm into the physical comedy.
Just anything.
Anything that's physical. I liked it when I used to get in brawls with little Mickey. And I would always tell Danny, now really hit me. You got to really hit me. And he could never really hit me. He was such a nice guy. I'd say, hit me. The harder you hit me, the funnier it'll be. Nope, he would not. So we used to wrestle and get into fights. And he always beat Kramer up. I love that. Having Kramer think that he could take Mickey, and here's little Mickey, just knocking him about. You know, it's just so good.
Did you ever get hurt?
No, I was well padded.
What do you mean you were well padded?
I had elbow pads, knee pads.
Did you really?
Always. I took all that very, very seriously. Red Skelton was a mentor of mine, and he wrecked his knees. I met him when he just turned 80, and he told me I messed my knees up with all the pratfalls I did. I said, they didn't have all that gear then. He used to stuff paper and things down his pants. But today, back then, in the 90s, there was a great gear you could get to protect yourself. Sport gear, things like that. I was into it.
So you would show up on the set. So when I'm watching an episode, you got an elbow pad on, you got knee pads on.
I didn't tell anybody. Hey, look.
I know.
I had it on. I knew if I'm going to take a bump off that wall or the corner of that couch, or I'm going to go over that chair, I'm gonna be padded up for it.
Wow, I did not know that. So what episode is one of your favorites that you point out like that? That's a Kramer moment that you're most proud
we were
of.
Talking about Mickey a moment ago. He loses his temper and charges at me and throws his whole body on me, and I got to go off of a crate I was sitting on, about this high off the floor. I'm going to take it with his weight on me.
Yes.
My back is going to hit that floor. So I had a piece of metal made so that I could wear it and it would protect my spine. And when I hit that floor, otherwise, I don't know if I'd be around.
Writing your book, Entrances and Exits. Michael Richards here on the Rich Eisen Show. We had Jerry here, as I mentioned, just last month. He told his story. He said he hadn't really told much of publicly about the famed "The Sea Was Angry, My Friend" speech that Jason Alexander read off.
Oh, yes.
That you had the button on, one of the famous buttons in the history of the show. And he said that they came up with that idea the night before. And I'm wondering what your perspective of that story, your memory of that.
I mean, Jason delivers that so beautifully, and I get the button. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, that's wonderful, but we're working together. That's all timing. We came up with things last minute all the time. And I was improvising when I bring physical comedy. Lots of things that weren't there at rehearsal time would come up along the way. That was just so magical when you'd have that moment. I remember a time in the parking garage where the car was supposed to start up. We were going to drive. And the blow line, it's Kramer. He says, where are we now? And they're just going around in a circle, lost in the parking garage. Well, that car didn't start up. During the shoot, it didn't start up for us to drive away. So it's just left with and that's the perfect ending. Out of a mistake, but something that came up last minute that works better than what was originally in the script.
So that moment at the end of that episode was supposed to be the car starts and you drive.
We drive,
off.
And then it's where are we now? Because we're lost, all of us in the parking garage. It's if you know the episode.
Of course, yeah. I know every one of them.
Okay,
pretty much.
Yeah. But that's an episode where that car didn't start, and it just worked.
Wow.
I did not know that one. I mean, seriously, I know I'm kind of fanboying here, but the car episode that you're also most famous for is the Thelma and Louise analogy, where the car is running out of gas, and you're taking the test drive, and you just keep going and going and going and going. What's your memory of that one? Did you really? You sat in that car seat, I imagine, for
we shot that inside. It was an interior.
Right.
Being inside the car was a bit confining because I like to move my body, but that's okay. We got through that one. That's a good episode. A lot of good episodes. I cover all 9 years.
Yes.
In this book, and I not all of the episodes, but I go for the best of the episodes and show how we put them together, the difficulties and also the big humor that we reached, which we were always after. That one.
Of course, yeah. I mean those are so many of them stand the test of time.
I think so.
Except the ones that are where cell phone could kind of get you out of trouble, or even the car episode. Like now you take a look at your app and you'd see your GPS where your car is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they stand the test of time. Absolutely hilarious,
Yeah. Netflix, thanks to them bringing all the shows together, of course, and you can watch them in sequence, which is how I watched them. I hadn't watched the shows. Well, probably 70% of them I never watched. That's just the way I am. Yeah, I'd look at them and go, "Oh, gee, I could do much better than that." Okay. You won an Emmy for that show. I don't know why. There you have it. Shows.
I again appreciate all the storytelling.
Oh, I know what I was trying to say.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I was just trying to say I hadn't watched the shows, so many of them, and then I sat down with my son, the best dad ever.
Yes.
And we watched all the shows in sequence for about 3 weeks.
Was that to prepare?
I had to do that to
get
prepared for the book, to watch these episodes and remember so much about putting them together, and then being able to watch them, being so objective. I so enjoyed the show. I just relaxed and went, this is a really good show. And my son's next to me laughing. So the best son ever.
Yeah. How old's your son?
He's 12.
Okay, so he's completely introduced to this facet of your life through this process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's a new generation. He and his friends watch the shows. Yeah, and they like the shows. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely, again, translates for a 12-year-old to enjoy.
They love Newman. They really love Wayne Knight.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, look at this man. He would get angry and then puff his face up. It would be so red, and it looked like he's just going to die. I used to tell Jerry, who would laugh all the time at Wayne, I say, Jerry, don't laugh. Now he's got to do another take. You're going to kill this man. and Wayne says, that's the way I want to go. And I went, phew, boy, he is really committed to his part. Far more committed than Andy Kaufman. He wouldn't die for his role. Wayne would, I'm going to do it even harder now. Be sure that camera's on and catch it. Yep.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier about if you control the mail, you control information. There's a great line by him, the way he just delivered it, calling
Wayne,
calling broccoli an evil weed. Isn't it great? Right? You're laughing about it too. It's so good.
Well, it's just so funny watching him. We used to shoot that show in the old Max Sennett building. That was the first studio out there back then when Sennett was making his comedies.
Yes.
So Wayne and I used to sit around and just talk about Max Sennett, the great physical comedians and so forth. Anyway, it was just so nice to know that we were doing Seinfeld in a building that's so historic for making comedy,
And making comedy history yourself. What'd you think of the Curb finale? What'd you think of that? Did you see the Curb Your Enthusiasm finale?
I didn't.
You did not?
No. I don't watch television.
Are you aware of what happened in the Curb Your Enthusiasm
What happened?
finale?
Did somebody... was it funny?
No. First of all, yes, I can confirm.
That's all.
But
let's leave it right there.
But I'm actually honored
Isn't
that I'm
blow your mind that I haven't watched it?
No. Listen, yes.
And Larry's
that
going,
does.
that's Michael.
So it was at the end of the Curb. series finale. Jerry is in it.
I knew about the tie-in.
Okay, so you know about the tie-in.
Because Jerry had told me about it. I knew
Okay.
about that months ago. He told me what they were going to do.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch it. I just watched the show.
Pulled it off, though.
I'll go watch it now. Forget it. I'm leaving.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Richards, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they pulled it off. It was a great tie-in and a great way to end it and sort of, get a mulligan, to use a golf phrase,
I'm happy to hear that.
For all of that. So why'd you write the book, Michael? Why'd you write it?
Why does the hair grow on the top of my head, or why am I breathing? I mean, I started reviewing writing one day about the show.
Right.
And then it started to open up, and I remembered so much, started watching the show, and it got me into writing a book about Seinfeld, especially the development of Kramer, because there's so many fans who are into that character. So I was writing to them to show them the process of making a character like that, being an actor and going into it. And there's an evolution to this character throughout the show. And I thought it would be important for the history of just making comedy on such a show as Seinfeld. So I started there, but then I started to get back into my life. Oh boy, when did I come into acting? Mm-hmm. How did that take a hold of me? And then before that, and then after Seinfeld, and the horrible incident at the Laugh Factory, and who am I now? And where did that take me? And so it became a memoir.
And it's available where everybody can get books. Jerry Seinfeld with a beautiful forward as well. So my last question for you is: in watching back Seinfeld and watching back the episodes, which one that you saw and you're like, I've got to put that in the book, and why?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of episodes.
Yes.
Okay, I talked about when I first came into physical comedy, Larry had written a big speech for me, which usually goes to Jason or Julia. And I got the speech, and I said to Larry, why come into the room and talk about what I just did? Why don't we shoot what I did? And this was when I went into a laundromat and put powdered cement in a washing machine to get revenge. And rather than come in and I'll tell you I did this, and boy, I put the powder in the washing machine. I said, let me do it. And the director at the time thought, we're not going to have time to do that. And then Jerry says, no, let's do it. We'll do it as a playback. So they let me set the scene up and do this physical comedy. And it went over well. It worked. And from then on, I think that was the beginning where we started to look at Kramer now doing physical comedy on the show. That was very important to me. Rather than just saying funny, I wanted to do funny. And I just have the means for it, my body and what I am into. Physical comedy is just making people laugh through your body is funny to me.
And were you the one who came up with Cosmo for Kramer? Or no?
Oh, we thought for weeks on that one. And then Larry came up to me and goes, I got it. It's Cosmo. And the moment I heard it, I went, absolutely. Well, it turned out it was with us all the time because there was a kid who lived in the building where Larry lived with Kenny, right down the hall, who was named Cosmo. So you see, it was in us all the time, in a sense, certainly with Larry.
Right.
To bring it our way.
It made complete sense.
Yeah, it's not something Cosmo.
Yeah, I know.
Because he is Cosmo.
And you could slip right back into the voice, too.
Yeah, I think so.
I noticed that right there. And the last one, the Merv Griffin set episode.
Yeah.
When you first read that, what did you think when you first read that script?
Oh, it's perfect Kramer, because Kramer, he lives in his imagination, and now he gets to be a talk show host. And he believes he is a talk show host. That's what's so lovely about Kramer. His imagination is, well, what's ever on. He can play different characters. He is those characters. So he's on the Merv Griffin Show, and he's a talk show host.
Look at this scene right here. I mean, just like the photograph that we have here of you sitting right there with your cards.
Oh, I loved it. I dressed him up. I had him go as a talk show host. It was lovely.
And then welcoming everybody in, playing the music as well. Oh, my gosh.
Yes, indeed. He really is a talk show host.
Was Merv Griffin alive at that point in time?
God, I don't know, but he sure had a big house out in Beverly Hills. Man, I flew over that thing. I go, what is that, a bank building? Someone says, that's Merv Griffin's house. I went, whoa, boy, he is feeling like he made it.
That's it. No doubt about it.
He built it from the, I don't know, from the
Jeopardy,
sidewalk
from
up.
Jeopardy up,
Yes,
I think,
of course,
for sure.
Show to show.
Entrances and exits. Michael Richards, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Everybody should get this book where all books can be acquired. Thanks for strolling down memory lane here. This has been a blast. Absolutely.
Michael,
Thank you.
Did you ever think about putting legs on the back of the book?
I didn't hear what he said.
Do you ever think about putting legs on the back of the book and making it its own?
Would that make it too gimmicky?
No, it would fit very well. Maybe you should do that.
I'd rather see it as a hood ornament.
Right there, everybody. Check it out where all books are sold. Michael Richards, everybody, here on The Rich Eisen Show. We'll be back to wrap it up in a sec. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.